Welcome to the Explainer. I want you to ask yourself a question right now. What would you do if you had $18 billion? Most people, especially professionals, they diversify. You spread the risk, you hedge your bets, and you play it safe. But today, we're talking about a man who is definitely not most people. We're going to break down the most concentrated investing bet in modern financial history. This is the story of Masayoshi Son, a staggering $18 billion portfolio and a master plan that is either pure genius or just incredibly dangerous.
Section 1. The $18 billion shock. The Q2 2026 filing.
So, to really understand the magnitude of this, we have to go back to that second quarter of 2026. A completely routine financial disclosure filed with regulators sent absolute shockwaves through Wall Street. Analysts literally couldn't believe what they were reading. Out of an $18 billion U.S. stock portfolio, a staggering 66% of it was put into just one single company. One stock, Intel. Okay, let's dive into this because tying up 2/3 of your capital in a single entity for a portfolio of this size is practically unheard of in institutional investing. It is a massive, concentrated leap of faith. Just to put this into proper perspective, let's juxtapose Son's massive bet against normal Wall Street behavior. The golden rule is always diversification, right? Standard mutual funds will strictly limit any single holding to a maximum of just 5%. Even the absolute most aggressive growth funds out there will cap a single holding at 20%. So 66%, that is just entirely off the map. Which brings us to the central question of this entire explainer. Why bet it all on one stock? Why would a highly experienced billionaire blatantly ignore the most sacred rule of finance to back a company that, quite frankly, had been really struggling? What on earth does he see that the rest of the market is completely missing? Section 2. Who is Masayoshi Son, the visionary? To truly understand this bet, you have to get inside the mind of our protagonist. Masayoshi Son has a track record that reads like a greatest hits album of the tech world. Born in Japan, he started his first business at age 16, just importing used video games. By 19, he had $1 million. But the real kicker is the year 2000. He invests $20 million into a little startup called Alibaba. At its peak, that single stake was worth over $130 billion. Then in 2016, he just drops $32 billion to acquire the chip designer ARM. He is a guy who always swings for the fences. And he's not just an investor. He's a visionary who is totally obsessed with the future. Right now, his entire focus is on what he calls physical AI. He is constantly looking for the next massive technological leap, and he firmly believes he's found the perfect vehicle for it. Section 3. The Intel Advantage, a fallen giant. Let's look at the target of his affection. Back in 2025, trading around $23, Intel was largely viewed as a fallen giant, steadily losing ground to competitors like NVIDIA, AMD, and TSMC. But this brilliantly illustrates what Masayoshi Son saw that everyone else missed: synergy. The AI revolution requires massive, massive computing power. On one hand, you have ARM, which SoftBank owns. They design the most energy-efficient chips in the world, but they don't actually build them. On the other hand, you have Intel, and they have massive manufacturing capacity. You combine ARM's brilliant designs with Intel's enormous factories, and suddenly you can directly challenge NVIDIA's dominance. It was a classic Masayoshi Son move, and initially, it paid off incredibly well. After his initial $2 billion bet in the summer of 2025, Intel's stock just surged. By June 2026, that bet had exploded by 216%, turning $2 billion into over $8 billion. Section 4. Son's AI Master Plan, the 4 pillars. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the massive Intel windfall was absolutely not the endgame. It was just fuel for a much larger global strategy. While everyone was busy watching him buy Intel, he quietly dumped his stakes in TSMC and completely exited NVIDIA. He took that capital and distributed it across 4 vital pillars: AI models with OpenAI, chips with Intel and ARM, massive infrastructure with Project Star 8, and robotics with Gravis. Everything just snaps together. The sheer scale of these numbers is just wild. SoftBank's cumulative investment in OpenAI is approaching $65 billion. He poured $200 million in the Gravis robotics. And to fund even more acquisitions, he planned the largest retail bonds in Japanese history at 1 trillion yen. All of this connects directly back to Son's profound belief that humanity is entering a new era and AI is going to be the most significant revolution in our history. And he wants SoftBank right at the dead center of the whole shebang. Section 5. Catastrophic Risks.
Stakes are high.
Now, we have to dramatically shift our tone for a second here, because executing a strategy of this magnitude comes with potentially catastrophic life-or-death financial risks. You have to ask yourself, what happens if he's wrong? What if Intel can't actually pull off the turnaround? What if the AI revolution stalls out or takes a decade longer than expected? The destructive potential to SoftBank's entire empire is immense. And time is definitely not on his side. SoftBank is carrying an enormous amount of debt, and there's a huge ticking clock here. They have a massive, short-term, $40 billion bridge loan that comes due in March 2027. When you have that much immediate debt hanging right over your head, concentrating your portfolio into a single struggling chipmaker is just incredibly dangerous. In fact, critics were super quick to point out that the stakes are already rising against him. Between the end of June and mid-August of 2026, Intel's stock fell 27%. So that massive paper profit we talked about earlier? Yeah, it's already shrinking. SoftBank's earnings are essentially being held hostage to the daily fluctuations of just one single stock.
Section 6. A 300-year vision. Son's legacy.
So the crucial point is, why does he ignore all this short-term market anxiety and plummeting stock charts? You really have to look at his underlying philosophy. Son thinks in decades and centuries, not financial quarters. He's famously said, I have a 300-year plan. I mean, remember the billions he lost on WeWork? Most investors would honestly hide under a desk after taking a hit like that, but he is completely willing to endure massive public failures because he knows his big wins make up for the losses. He simply refuses to bet small. He describes having two kinds of decisions, those from the head and those from the heart, and he tries to make his big decisions from the heart. This $18 billion concentration is not some calculated, risk-averse financial hedge. It is pure, unadulterated conviction. He is betting absolutely everything on a future where Intel is the factory, ARM is the blueprint, and OpenAI is the brain. Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider about your own relationship with risk. Are you playing to be safe? Or are you playing to be remembered? Masayoshi Son is playing a game few of us could ever stomach. And whether this staggering master plan succeeds and completely changes the world, or fails and brings down an entire empire, one thing is absolutely certain. The whole world is watching.